Welcome to the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts, author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of The Great Reconnection. And I'm so thrilled to have with us today Elizabeth McCormick. Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm thrilled to be here.
The reason why I asked Elizabeth to come on because I met her on a webinar and she talked about a few things that really captured my interest. One was being a Black Hawk pilot and the level of speaking that she does and why she speaks. So that's why I wanted you to be on this podcast today. So would you start with what brought you to become a Black Hawk pilot?
Well, I was an unemployed military wife with 5 years of college, almost 3 college degrees, and I could not get a job. We were stationed at Fort Polk, Louisiana, where they didn't even have a Walmart back then. There was nothing there, and there were no jobs. I did end up getting a job working in a pizza place. I was miserable. Miserable for a lot of reasons, but not having a job and a vocation and like a direction was really the main reason. And I looked at him one day. I call him the starter husband.
Okay. I think people have had a few of those.
Some people have.
Yes.
Some people are still on theirs.
Yes, it's true.
So I looked at him and I thought, well, if he could be in the Army, I could be in the Army. So I didn't know it was hard. I didn't know they'd only let women into aviation about 20 years before that, but they were only letting women in one at a time. I didn't know any of that.
Wow.
I just knew that it felt right and paid attention to that kind of inner voice and inner drive that said, this is what you're supposed to do.
And you got in, obviously.
Yeah, it wasn't easy. I had the vision and I stayed true to that vision. I think that's really important for everybody to know is like when you get that vision, you gotta like stay focused on that, not on everyone that says no, not that everyone that says you can't and the doubters, and because there's lots of those. Like people don't see what you see,
right? Or know what you know,
but they don't see your vision of
right
what you can do like you do. So I think we need to stand firm and within our vision and our space of who we are and who we want to be. And I went to the recruiter and he said, no, you can't do that. I had researched the process. I knew the right things to say. I had, I came in prepared and he still said no. And so I had to question him. That wasn't comfortable, right? It's not comfortable to question someone in authority. And I questioned him. I asked him, why not? Why couldn't I be a helicopter pilot? And I do this in my speech. I'm like, he said, you need perfect eyesight. And I'm like, I have that. And he says, you need perfect physical condition. I used to have that.
You had that then.
I had it then. I was a lot younger then. Right? I was 24 years old. He's like, you need a college degree. Ha! Because I have 3, or almost. I was like 2 classes away from him in 3 at that time. And he's like, well, you need leadership. And I was like, I have that too. Like, really, like I had to really push and ask him and keep asking, why not? Until he finally said he didn't know how to do the paperwork.
Are you serious?
It was a training issue.
Wow.
He didn't know how to do his own job. So, Suzanne, and everyone listening, what would have happened if I had walked in and I had believed him?
Absolutely.
My entire future changed because I was willing to believe in myself, my vision, my abilities, and question with curiosity.
I think that's amazing. But once he admitted that he didn't know how to fill out the paperwork, he did find a way to fill it out, obviously.
Oh, no, he didn't.
Oh, he didn't?
He didn't. I sat in his office, I read the regulations, and I did his paperwork for him.
Aha. So that's another thing for our listeners to listen to.
Because really, I mean, when it really, I mean, elemental fundamentally comes down to it, is that your future is your responsibility.
I love that, Elizabeth.
It's not up to that recruiter. It's not up to your boss. It's not up to anyone else. You have to decide who you are, how you show up, how you live in your life, how you work in your job. You get to decide who you are. And then you just keep showing up until they see you.
And take accountability for if he doesn't want to fill out the paperwork, I will. Right. So
And
I'll
I
make
did.
sure. And you did. I love that. A lot of people would just walk away. And I really want the listeners to hear that action step because that made a difference for your future.
When I first walked into the recruiting station, he told me he had openings for a cook. I said, I'm looking at a pizza place. I'm like, no, 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 no,
No,
no.
no,
I'm not going to do that. Not that cooking is bad. I love,
no.
I loved to eat.
But that
But
wasn't your vision.
no, it wasn't what I
No.
knew I could do. I'd already done all that research. I already knew all the steps. I knew I had the college. I knew I had everything I played college volleyball. I had the athleticism and the physicality. Like I had everything lined up. So,
Why a helicopter though?
because it was the coolest job. I was 24 years old,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Like if I'm gonna go into the army, like I want a cool job. And so I went onto the base and I asked people. I just asked officers mainly because I knew with my degree I could go in as an officer. So I researched the heck out of this. I surveyed people. We didn't have Google, right? I surveyed people. I sat in the restaurant on base was Burger King. I sat in Burger King as people came in before, like after physical fitness, before they went to work. That's when like breakfast was really busy. I sat in there and I talked to anybody that walked in and asked them, like, what's the coolest job? What do you wish you'd done differently? Like,
Mm,
what do you, like, I researched this and I was like, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do different? Like, and over and over and over again, the majority of them said, I'd go warrant officer, I'd be a helicopter pilot. And I was like, oh, what's that? Right. So then I had to research that and go to the flight line some more and go out to the flight line and talk to the pilots. And they're like, oh, there's 3 different ways you can go in. This is the best way. So like I had to figure this out because nobody else was going to do this for me. Like now it's easier. I could go to Google, right? I could go to AI.
right.
I could find other ways. We didn't have that. So
But
when
you were also building relationship while you were asking questions, and that's different than Google.
yeah.
If you think about it, Google doesn't build the relationship, and building the relationships, I think, is vital actually, because then people also are interacting with you, hearing you, seeing your determination, they're witnessing you. So many levels of things can happen within a conversation. Yeah, I also love what you did along the way. Can you tell me what it's like flying a helicopter and all that and one of your most exciting or scary journeys?
So during the speeches I give, because now I'm a motivational speaker out and about, like we talked about,
Yeah.
and during my speech I talk about how flying a helicopter is like being in the front car of a roller coaster.
Mm,
So imagine right now, unless you're driving, don't close your eyes if you're driving, but imagine being in the front car of a roller coaster. And as it hits the top of the hill, right? You go up the hill, it does a you get to the top of the hill and you're in that pause, right? So first off, that pause is intentional, right? They're building anticipation for you
mhm.
as the in the experience of riding a roller coaster. So when I talk to business owners, I'm always like, how can you build more of that anticipation in? How can you
Nice.
create countdown calendars and teaser campaigns and different things to get people leaning in and wanting to be a part? Like right now I'm prepping for my next book launch and I'm teasing little things out, right? How can you build more of that anticipation in? But I want you to
Nice.
imagine you're in that pause at the top of the hill. Your arms might be in the air, or you might be holding on for dear life, right? And as you're looking out and you can see everything, you realize in that moment that there's no track.
Mm.
You get to decide where it goes. How high, how low, how fast, or how slow, to your right or to your left, which way it should go.
Mm.
That is what flying a helicopter is like.
Mm. That's lovely.
It's so much fun. It really is. It's a lot of fun. It's not fun in training. It's hard to learn. It's very hard, the physicality of it. A lot of people failed and didn't make it through because of the training. I almost failed. I drew a flight instructor who didn't believe women should fly and tried to fail me. And I was the only female in the class, not just in my class. I was the only female for the 5 classes that were ahead of me and the 6 classes after me, with 20 pilots a class, 11 classes. I'm the only female, so 220 pilots. Like, and he's trying to fail me. And I had to show up. I had to I had to show up even though he wasn't teaching me correctly so I could do well and exceed. I still had to show up. And that was probably the hardest thing I've ever done other than parenting. So, but it was probably one of the hardest things I at that point, my at that point I'm like not quite 25 years old, and it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had done, was showing up in the face of adversity to that level where somebody else doesn't want you to succeed, and to have that kind of, like, I'm showing up anyway. Oh, I'm going to show up again anyway. Like, it was over 6 weeks of that before, at the very, very end of this first portion of flight school called initial entry, rotary wing, the first, like, at the very last, second to last week, when next week's the final exam, a check ride that I have to pass, and I don't know how it's going to happen, and I'm starting to get discouraged.
Mm.
And I walked in and it was a substitute instructor.
Wow.
My instructor had taken a week vacation. And so I got to be taught by somebody instead of getting screamed at by somebody.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that substitute instructor, he saved me. He
Have you thanked him?
I mean, in the moment,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's not like we have, social
Right.
media and Facebook and ways to stay in touch now. So,
Okay. That would be so cool though to say thank you, like that's amazing because it shaped your future.
it did. I truly probably would have failed
Hmm.
if he hadn't come in. I was not doing well. And not only that, but I had 6 weeks, 6 full weeks, 5 days a week, hours of training each day in a helicopter, doing things wrong.
Oh my goodness.
So all these bad habits, all the bad training, and basically he taught me with omission. He didn't teach me all the right things. He taught me a little here and a little there, but not like other people were getting taught, because he didn't want me to succeed. And how do you show up with that?
Hmm.
How do you show up with that kind of blatant disregard for your future and your training and even your presence of just being there, let alone the gender issue? Like, just, it was really hard to show up like that. But
Mm.
I did, and luckily the substitute came at the last minute and taught me. I really believe I had some angels looking out for me.
Right.
But I was able to pass. Now, I was not first in the class, right? I went from, in fact, during candidate school, prior to that, I was the honor graduate. I graduated first in the class in candidate school and went straight to flight school and went to last.
Mm.
And here's what I learned in that I learned that I didn't have to be first to win.
Mm. Will you just say that again so people, because that's such a strong message.
I didn't have to be first to
Mm.
win.
Yep.
Winning is an internal race.
Mm.
You get to decide what's important to you. You get to decide. When we start comparing ourselves to other people or to a scorecard or to a ranking or a place, like that's diminishes
Mm.
our presence and how we show up. It diminishes that. So, being um, focusing on doing your best in your moments. That's where joy comes from.
I love that. So you could even find joy in coming in last.
Well, maybe not in the moment,
But but you're
but I did.
prescribing that as a possibility.
But I did afterwards, like in the
Yes.
hindsight, right? When you look at it and go, "Wow, like that was really hard." Like, how did I do? Like, people look at me, how did you do that? It's like, I don't know.
Right.
Like, you stay present in the moment, and you show up, and you show up, and you show up, and eventually, like when you do that, you're all of a sudden you're done, and you go, wow, look at what I did,
Mhm.
right? But it's being present in that and not going, well, I could be here, or I could be over there, right?
Right.
That diverts you from the journey that you're on. I think the second part of the question you asked me was about missions, if there was any.
Exciting or dangerous. Yeah.
Yes, there were. Let's see. Let me tell you one I don't think I've told before. I was flying night vision goggles. So that's where you're like, you've got little toilet paper tubes you're looking at to look through that amplify the ambient light. And
Mm.
so I'm flying night vision goggles in Germany. Now, when I was stationed in Germany, um, like the Germans were very restrictive. We couldn't fly after midnight. So like 11:59, we had to be shutting down our aircraft. Like you better be landed. You can't be in the air. So very, very strict with their quiet hours, and certain hours we weren't allowed to fly and things like that. And we had to work with the German government. And so we were flying a training mission, night vision goggles out, and you always get a good weather briefing before you take off. You have to check your maps, and you have to file your flight plan, and you have to get a risk assessment. You have to do a safety brief. Like you have to pre-flight, you have to do a fuel check. There's like hours of prep to do even just a training flight, let alone a real mission. And so we've done all that. You get your weather briefing, and then right before you take off, you get another weather briefing just in case something has changed. And so we got our weather briefing, everything was okay. But as we're out flying night vision goggles, all of a sudden, fog rolls in.
Mm.
And helicopters typically fly pretty low, right? And so fog rolls in, and we realize we can't get back.
Oh my goodness.
The fog is like over the river right by near our airfield and where we have to go. So now we have a choice, right? So we have a choice. We can basically declare an emergency because we have to deviate from our flight plan. We have to call the tower, call air traffic control, and get vectors. So in other words, they can route us
Mhm.
back to the airfield in the clouds, in the cloud bank that was higher than us, because lower is clouds and fog, right? So we could do that, or we could try to kind of sidestep and fly around the airfield to try to find a clear way to get in. Because luckily, in helicopters, we can fly in any direction. It's not like an airplane that only
Mhm.
goes forward, right? In a helicopter, I can fly sideways. I can basically, in training, we would we would do this for practice. We would take off the rotor system. We would rotate 360 degrees off the rotor system, and then we would rotate 360 degrees off the nose,
Mm.
and we would rotate 360 degrees off the tail without going too far back because you don't want to hit your tail. But we would do that as practice, like at a high hover, so we weren't close to the ground, but we'd do that in practice so that we'd work on our precision, right? We can, in a helicopter, you can literally move with that level of kind of precision in any direction.
Mm.
And so we decided we're okay, we're going to try to sidestep. We're going to try to, like, fog is the in the path we wanted to go. Let's try a different path. So great lesson, right?
Great lesson.
Because sometimes there's obstacles in the path that you want to go.
So true.
So
Yes.
find a different path, find a different way. So we're in the air finding a different way. Now we have limitations, right? We have only have so much fuel. We have to be on the ground by 11:59 for the quiet hours. We have, so we have things that we have to work with, but we were still able to, turn in this direction, and instead of going straight to the airfield, instead of going to the right, which is closer to the river, over to the airfield, we went to the left and we circled around the town and around and back, and we snuck into the airfield.
Wow, that's
So,
creative.
those are the kind of thing we have to work within. Like, as a pilot, I have to work within my flight plan. I have to work within my operating restrictions of the aircraft. I have to work within my weather briefing. I have to work within my safety and risk assessment. I have to work within all these things that we already have, but still find a creative way
Hmm.
to get the mission done.
What I love about listening to you talk is in your storytelling, there are so many lessons. And I imagine that's how you transfer it to speaking, inspirational, motivational speaking. And I'm really curious what your next book is about.
My next book, my best-selling book I currently have, has been out for a little over 10, 12 years. And then I've written a bunch of tip books on different topics, business topics and leadership topics. Um, and the reason I want to tell you about my first book,
Yes, I want to know.
pilot, is because the T in pilot, it's an acrostic. So, it's P is for potential, I is for implementation, getting things done, L is for a simple framework for leadership, O is optimal performance, how do you show up your best even in adversity? And the T is, we've already talked a little bit about, is that tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
It's how do you show up when things are hard?
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
that's the T. So I have that book. So my next big book that has the stories like I tell on stage, and I'll have the next keynote to go with it, is called Fly.
Nice.
First, lead yourself.
Love, love. Can you just say that again? That's so good.
It's Fly. First, lead yourself. And then the subtitle is Personal Leadership in Turbulent Times.
Oh my goodness, aren't we in that right now? That's perfect.
I
It's
don't think
the
it's going away. I think we've
no,
been in that for a while, and it's not going away. It's just the
right,
challenges change, right? We went from COVID
right.
to AI to the economy to different, like, there's always something.
Always something.
Always something.
Driving here today, I was thinking about, do people really know themselves? Do they take the time to turn their attention inward and know their own space, their own plane, what to
No,
speak? I
no.
don't think people do.
No, I talk about this. Most people are on autopilot. And what happens is, when you're in survival mode, and I've been there too. I think we
Yeah,
all have times in our life when we have to be on autopilot. Like,
right.
I got out of the military, I was injured. While I was in Germany, while we were in Kosovo, I was injured, and was, lost my flight status. Couldn't fly
Mm,
anymore. Couldn't be a pilot anymore. And it was devastating to lose your future path, like lose your career, right? And not only that, but for me, it was also a loss of identity, because I not only
right.
lost my pilot identity, but I lost my military identity, because the injury was so that they kicked, like I say, they kicked me out. They medically retired me out of the military. So
That's
here I
kicking you
am.
out
Yeah, like, here
in a
I
way.
am. I mean, they tried to keep me in. They
Yeah,
did.
okay,
They spent a
good.
year trying to keep me in. And when they started talking about doing experimental procedures we have not done before, I'm like, I'm good. We're done.
Yeah,
Right? I'm not,
good.
I don't want to be a guinea pig. But I got out in May of 2001. So think about timing. I got out in May of 2001. I was coming from Germany here to Texas, where I live now, and I had applied for jobs on this new website back then called Monster.com.
Oh, yeah.
You know, had several interviews lined up by the time I came back. Interviewed, nailed it, got the job. September 11th happened.
Mm,
The unit I was with went to Afghanistan. I would have had to have gone to Afghanistan. So I would have had to
Mm-hmm.
and at the time I was a single parent of my 6-year-old daughter. And
Mm-hmm.
I would have had to have sent my 6-year-old daughter to live with my ex-husband, the starter, who was suing me for custody.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have lost custody of my daughter, who's beautiful and now 30 and doing great, right? But I would have lost custody of her. I would have, everything changed, right? And so, and a month after September 11th, I met my keeper husband on a blind date. And
Nice.
we're celebrating our 25
Oh,
year wedding anniversary.
congratulations.
So, it's like out of this tragedy,
Mm-hmm.
right? That I was horribly depressed and sad and physically injured, emotionally distraught. Like all this good came out of it later because you
Mm-hmm.
don't always know the messes
Yes.
and the messes, right? So I, but I was on autopilot. I was just showing up. I would go to work, do my work, come home from work, take care of my daughter, go to bed, do the next thing over and over and over. I was just on autopilot because that's what I needed to heal.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I needed to survive that time. And I can say it was like 6 to 8 months before I looked up and went, whoa, who am I? Like, and started shifting into that self-awareness mode. And it requires some intentional, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
Sometimes a speaker friend of mine says, sometimes you get hit by the 2x4, right?
That's
And it
right.
makes you be aware. But other times it's just like, okay, wait, is this how I want to show up in this meeting? Is this how I
Absolutely.
want to show up in my business? Is this how I want to show up at work? Is this how I want to show up for my family? And if it isn't, you can change it.
Thank you. We're going to have to begin to wind down right now. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you. I do love to ask, what do you think the purpose for life is?
I think it's living a life of awareness, what we were just talking about.
Mm,
It's
nice.
it's you not being on autopilot. It's you being the pilot command of you every day.
I love that. I
So
really
deciding
love
who
that.
you are, how you want to show up, and then showing up that way.
Nice. And how can people get a hold of you? And when can we get the book Fly? That's what I want to know.
Very, very soon, very soon. It's in the final stages. And so I would say look for Fly this summer. And if you want to be on the list for Fly, but also I gift all your listeners an online course. So I
Nice.
have an online course that is called Master Your Motivation and helps you kind of stay motivated in those difficult times. Some of those techniques might be in this new book. So if you go to it's an easy domain to remember. It's firstleadyourself.com.
Great. Thank you so much. I love that you have a gift for our listeners. I'm excited. I'm going to be part of that
And
myself.
there's more modules coming. I have a module
Great.
on work-life balance coming. I think that's
Great.
important. A lot of people struggle with that. And I have another module on, and in fact, by the time this airs, they might be done. They're in process, again, as part of the book. But there's a module on how to shift your energy, 30 ways to shift your energy. None of them cost money. So it's just little
Great.
things that you can do when your day's not going the way you want it to go and you want to shift. Right. And then there's a really great module on confidence boosting and how do you
Nice.
boost your own confidence.
Great. One more time, how can our listeners get a hold of you?
So the online course is at firstleadyourself.com. And if you want to connect with me on any social media platform and my website, everything else is Pilot Speaker. So Pilot Speaker on social,
Great.
pilotspeaker.com is my speaker website and how to connect with me.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you today. Thank you so much. I know our listeners are going to be motivated, inspired, and will have learned some things as I did. So thank you. Once again, this is the Purpose for Life podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Roberts. Subscribe, keep listening. I'm the author of It's Deeper Than That and founder of The Great Reconnection. And until next time, enjoy yourself.